classifications of elements. That is Sankhya. Yoga says everything is coming from consciousness, universal consciousness. This is their philosophy. Then you have Karma Mimamsa, which says everything comes from action and reaction, karma and pratikarma. And Uttara Mimamsa says everything comes from Brahman, or the absolute truth. Now, in classifying these six, also there are two ways of doing. Because when we come to the sixth one, Uttara Mimamsa, there are two kinds of people. One kind of scholars, they say that Brahman, everything comes from Brahman, and that Brahman is impersonal. And there is other which explains, no, that Brahman is a person, supreme person. So Vyasadeva's Brahma-sutras or Vedanta-sutras were actually written with the idea of Purusha. So it is known as Purusha Vedanta-sutra or Person Vedanta-sutra. So some people will classify these six in one way. That is, Nyaya-Vaiseshika, Sankhya Yoga, and Purva, Uttara Mimamsa, which is only Brahman. If they do like that, Vyas will be considered as a seventh. Or, if you take Brahma and Purusha Vedanta Sutra as together, then we will have this classification. Prabhupada has given both classifications in his books. So, don't get confused by that. There is just two ways of seeing it. I repeat that again. The final one, which is sixth, it has got two ways of explaining Brahman. One as Purusha, another as just Brahman. So, the scholars who want to divide Vyasa separate from this, because they are all atheistic, including the one who says the source is Brahman, which is impersonal, is also atheistic. All these darshans are atheistic. Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva, Mimamsa, and those who have Uttara Mimamsa as Brahman impersonal. It's all atheistic, not theistic. So Vyasa is theistic, so sometimes we classify him separate from this, sometimes we classify him in there, saying there are two different commentaries on that. So now you come down in there, in the chart, Bhasyas, commentaries, your next page. Now Vedanta-sutra is the final word in understanding Upanishads. Upanishads are explained in 5 incomplete ways by the 5 darshans. And the 6th philosophy, 6th darshan explains it in complete manner. So that is Vedanta-sutra. Now this Vedanta-sutra has commentaries on it. Mainly 2 classifications of commentary. One is theistic, another is monistic. The first one is monistic, which explains Brahman as impersonal. And there are many acharyas in that, but the most famous and one who has defeated everybody else who told anything before him, his name is Sripada Shankaracharya. His commentary is known as Advaita commentary. Advaita means monistic. Dvaita means two, Advaita means not two. That means monistic. And the name of that Bhashya is Sharirika Bhashya. So then the theistic commentaries, there are 4 authorized sampradayas to understand the ultimate purpose of the Vedas. Here we have to know 2 purposes of the Vedas. One is known as the pravritti purpose. Another is known as the nivritti purpose. Pravritti purpose means using the Vedas to remain within the material existence very nicely. Nivritti purpose means using the Vedas to remain in the world very nicely and get out of the material existence. In fact, the goal of the Veda is spiritual realization. And spiritual realization in its ultimate level is to understand the personality of God as Sri Krishna. But before that you have all the other levels. You can see the agamas are there and the different philosophies are there. So one can go on wrangling and have a Vedic nonsense life. Means no sense, that's what it means. Nonsense simply means no sense. So you can go to heaven, you can go to hell, you can go in between, you can do this, you can do that. All this is there. That is not the actual purpose. The actual purpose is to establish loving devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is not with any material purpose, and it is not seasonal. Ahetukiya pradhyata. That only will satisfy the soul. So that spiritual realization knowledge comes in a disciplic section of 4 lines, known as 4 sampradayas. Sampradaya. Daya means to give. Pra means complete. Sam means in unison. To give everything incomplete. Fully giving. Like this. Like a mango is given fully. Like that. That is sampradaya. So in each sampradaya, there was a founder acharya who may not be at the beginning of the sampradaya, sometime in the beginning, sometime in the middle. So he organizes the whole system in that line of succession, disciplic succession. So there were 4 of them. You can see that Nimbarka, he wrote a commentary which established Dvaita. Means 1 and 2. Dvaita means 2, Advaita means not 2. So 1, 2 and not 2. That means 1 and 2. That is Nimbarka philosophy. Next one is Vishnu Swami. His philosophy is Suddha Advaita. Suddha means pure, Advaita means 1. Purely 1. That is Vishnu Swami. And then Ramanuja. In Vishnu Swami's line, there was another Acharya who is very famous. He is known as Vallabhacharya. Sometimes Vishnu Swami's line is known as Vallabhacharya Sampradaya. So then Ramanuja, his commentary is Visishta Advaita. Visishta means special, Advaita means 1. Specially 1. One said purely 1, another said specially 1. And then the last one, the 4th one there is Madhva. His philosophy is Dvaita, means 2. He just said it's 2. And he explained how it is 2. This is one separate study course, these 4 sampradayas. We have that course also. If Jesus Christ permits, then maybe we will have it sometime in the future. So you can study that too. So these are the 4 sampradayas, and they wrote theistic commentary, and they fully defeated Sripada Shankaracharya's monistic commentary on the Brahma-sutras. And they all explain different aspects of oneness and difference. But then came Sri Krishna. He appeared 507 years ago as Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is Krishna himself. And he actually, in his unmanifested pastimes, inspected all these 4 Sampradaya Acharyas. That we will study in the 4 Sampradaya course. And in his line, there was Baladeva Vidya Bhushana, who is our Vedanta Acharya, our line. He wrote Achintya Veda Abeda philosophy, commentary on Brahma-sutras. Achintya means inconceivable, Veda means difference, Abeda means no difference. So oneness and different. Inconceivably one and different. This is our philosophy by the mercy of Chaitanya. So these are the Bhasyas, commentaries. So now it's 7:39 now. So I'm going to stop here and ask for questions. I kept an alarm for 7:45. But still, because this is another category of books we are going to deal with. So I will stop here and I will invite some questions now. And at the end of questions, we are going to have some milk prasadam for everyone. Please have the milk prasadam before you leave. And those who want to join in the practical application of the study of Vedas, that is chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, without which you would never get to digest any of these things which are blabbering now. So that is Harinam. So we are requesting everyone to join in that after the milk prasad. And we go out for about 25 minutes, maximum 30 minutes, right in this area. We chant Hare Krishna. So that's the program today. Now you can ask some questions. Please make sure, point one, the questions are in connection with what we discussed. And the questions are for the purpose of knowing some information which you couldn't understand when I spoke, or knowing some more information if it is necessary. That I will give in the answer. Something like that type of question. Not everything that we have to do with our preaching life, don't bring it that here, because you can't learn like that, it's very difficult. Then we'll be going on off track like anything. I'm so famous for this, going off track. So that's my weakness. So if you just click one switch, I'll just go off, tell you stories and so many things, and then we just be not knowing anything. So please be on track and ask some questions. Yes, questions. Yes, sir.
I have three questions.
One question at a time, because we have other people.
You said that the system, the Ganapatyas, isn't well known in India. At least one of the Ganapatyas, you mentioned Ganesh, I see that every part of your system.
That is not Ganapatya. People may worship Ganapati with everybody else. That's not Ganapatya. Ganapatya means that they take that particular deity as supreme and worship. That's very, very rare in India. Have you seen anybody taking only Ganesh as supreme, not anybody else on the altar? Have you seen? No. So that proves what I said. In each of these lines, see what you see, hodgepodge Hindu. There's nothing here. He's not here. First try to understand that. He's not here in this shop. This is what everyone is supposed to be. The perfect conditioning of souls is mentioned here. When that comes to imperfectness, it's called Hindu. So that's what we're discussing here. We're not discussing here Hindu or anything. No. We're discussing here Varnashram Dharma. This was like this a few thousand years ago. At least 700 years ago, during the time of Madhva, it was still like that. Now it's a big hodgepodge. It's just for the destruction of the soul that religion exists. And they have a big conference in Chicago so that you can destroy it quickly. So don't think of those people whom you see, all this, they have a picture of Gandhi, and the picture of Abraham Lincoln. This is a hodgepodge. Nothing to do with this. Don't even consider them. They are not considered. They have no smriti, no book. You ask, where do you get it from? They will say from the TV serial B.R. Chopra. So that's not what we are talking about. We are talking about people who have some sanity. There are very few people who have sanity in the age of Kali, that you know. Yes, some more questions. Yes, Guru.
What is the exact meaning of the word sampradaya?
Sampradaya means the word sam means connecting everything together. That's called sam. Like Sankirtan means congregation. Right? So pra means full. Pra ujjita. Dharma projita atra kaitavo nirmasaranam satam verse. Prabhupada translates pra as completely rejecting, pra ujjita, completely rejecting. Pra means complete. Prahlad. Hlad means happiness. Prahlad means complete happiness. So pra means complete. Sampra daya. Daya, the root word is done, to give. Sampradaya means that which gives. That which gives completely in unison, in unity. Not here and there. That's the difference between Sampradaya and Hindu. Sampradaya means they got some unification. Everything that you say makes sense, everything is in some proper position. Not that, I do so many things, and if you slap me and ask me why you do this, and you say, well, I saw my grandmother doing so. This is not Sampradaya. Like the Bhasyas such this example, the basket and the cat story. Some ceremony was performed, and the cat came in, they put a basket on. And then it became a tradition in their family. Every time the ceremony is made, they have to find a cat and find a basket and put the basket on the cat. So this is not Sampradaya. Sampradaya means there is an Acharya, there is a disciplic succession, they have a commentary on Brahma-sutra. Whatever they do, they have a book based on which they are doing. Not that they simply go and pull their ears, pull the nose, pull somebody else's ears. Not that. That's not sampradaya. Yes, go ahead.
What about Mimamsa or karma philosophy?
Oh yeah, I didn't mention where they say everything comes from. Did I mention? I said from karma. Yes. Karma.
Is that similar to Buddhist philosophy?
No, Buddhist philosophy is non-Vedic. Here we are only discussing Vedic. They accept Veda, and from the Veda, they say that Veda says if you do this, you get that. You do that, you get this. You do this, you get that. So they say, you do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. So there is no necessity of anybody or pleasing anyone. In other words, very atheistic. They will perform some devas according to the puja and ceremony, but not necessary to evolve a relationship with them or not, because if you do good, they can only give good. If you do bad, they can only give bad. If you do bad, they can't give good, and not vice versa. So, karma is ultimate. They accept a God who is known as a Purva, means who existed long before, kind of who started this whole thing. But that God is secondary in their philosophy. They have no allegiance to that God, to love that God, to know that God, to glorify Him or go to Him. No such principle. Simply perform karma, go to heaven, and then go to hell. Like that. Finally go to hell. Because godless philosophies take soul to the hell finally. Yes. Oh, wait. First question first. Second question will come around. Yes.
Just real quickly, what's the difference between the Bhakti-sampradaya with the Vedic philosophy and
this is in the next study course. I don't have the capacity to say it so small. It is my, imperfect, vocabulary. I can't say it like that. If one is self-realized, he can say anything in one sentence or in one year. But if one is not self-realized, he can only tell it in 1 year. So, I'm not self-realized. I can't say it like that. But I can say, how do you say that? Like this I can say. In the Nimbarka's philosophy, you asked Nimbarka? Dvaita, Advaita, they are simply answering the subject that Shankara raised, that everything is one. They're simply answering that. They're not giving more information. That's all I can say now. Vedanta-sutra says more. Not says more, says up to the brim. More than that, if we discuss, is very difficult now. First of all, we have to first study what it means one, what it means two, what it means different. That definition you have to know. As it is, you don't know that. So whatever I speak will go over your head. It's like writing poetry without alphabets. Yes? You want some time? All right. Yeah.
This establishment of knowledge, the prasthanas, are all of these three considered sruti, smriti, and Upanisads?
Nyaya.
They're all considered equal? And
no, Shruti is topmost. Smriti and Nyaya have to confirm what is in the Shruti. Just like there is what aspect, how aspect and why aspect. Now the why aspect has to confirm what is in the what aspect. If it says something different than that, that Nyaya is rejected. Just like this, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Purva, Mimamsa, they all said something. But it didn't confirm everything that is in the Shruti. So we reject them as atheistic philosophers. We take the scale of Shruti, when you bring it to Nyaya, it doesn't fit, then we reject. If you bring it to Smriti, it doesn't fit, we reject. So ultimately Shruti has to be confirmed. Because Shruti is Veda, and that is the law of God. If we explain something very nicely and if it is against the law of God, then what's the use? Right? Somebody can explain to you the traffic law, but it is against the federal government, then what's the use? You won't get anywhere. The government makes certain rules like red light, green light, etc. Somebody else comes and says, actually we can have it in a different way. But what do you mean? You can have it, but you can't have it practically, it's not possible. Because God is the controller of everything. So if you remove God from knowledge, then how can it function? It doesn't function. It ends up in chaos. So Shruti is topmost. Smriti and Nyaya has to confirm. You are, yes? Wait, that's one question, right? Let's go take the first question, yes.
The Bhasyas, the commentaries are commentaries only on the Brahma.
Bhasyas are commentaries on Brahma-sutra. Yes. Yeah? Wait, your second question. Any more first questions? You have one? Alright. Second.
I wanted to ask about the Tantra. That's what is probably a little misunderstanding of is what is popular among some people in the West today. One tiny little question, is that Shukla and Krishna? The right and left, is it the words today? Shukla and Krishna?
Some people use that word, white and black, but actually it is Uttara and Vama. Uttara means top or right, and Vamabad means left hand side, means something black market.
So my question is...
that was not your question.
The question is that so some people may say that this is a bona fide practice for Kali Yuga. Some people can smoke ganja, but people really like that. Some people really like this tantra that idea that they smoke ganja.
What's your question?
So what does the scripture say about this age of Kali?
Tantra Shastra says about the age of Kali?
Or itself, the practice of it, because many people want to practice this Tantra Shastra.
Tantra Shastra is for all ages. There are people who practice that in Satya Yuga too. All these books are like that. One may practice more some age there may be less. But Tantra Shastra is not specially meant for Kali Yuga or anything. Tantra Shastra is like an exemption for those people who cannot come up to the standard of Vedic study. At any case, in Kali Yuga, nobody can come to the standard of Vedic study. You can apply to all of them. Yes?
Would chanting Hare Krishna be considered tantric?
What do you mean by tantric? If you use words without definitions, it will make no sense. What do you mean by tantric?
For people who can't come up with the proper standard of Vedas.
Yes, that way you can. Yes, but we are coming to that. That's this line. We will come there. That's this line here. That's not that. This line. There are say it is Vedic, right? And there are people who cannot come to that, so they have something low. There are also people who cannot come to that can have something high. This is just a cliffhanger. You come to that, when you come to that, we will see. That's Hare Krishna. Generally, literary meaning of word tantra means a method, that's all. Method, methods, different methods. It's a method, that's all. This is all method. That way everything is tantra, you can say. Just like Smriti. Everything here is Smriti because we are remembering it. But still, Smriti is there. So tantra means method. There are three things in the Veda. Yantra, mantra, tantra. Yantra means a facility by which you do your sacrifice. And mantra means a sound you speak when you do that. And tantra means the method you use to do that. Yantra, mantra and tantra. So tantra generally means a method. But here it is especially meant for those people who cannot be up to the level of Vedic standard. And they were there even when the Vedic civilization was there, they were still there. Some people are a little low, you have to bring them up also. You can't just say, knowledge is meant for these people and other people just go to hell. You can't say like that. Veda won't say like that. Knowledge is for everyone. So anybody, retarded, disabled, greedy, envious, lusty, everyone must get knowledge. Everyone should go from their level 1 to level 2, level 3, level 4. That is Veda, gradual elevation. Slowly pushing one towards the surrender to God. So Veda never says that these people are all right and those people just put them in a forest fire. Doesn't say like that. Give them a system by which they can come up. Let's see. Maybe they can come here and then you can pull him up from here to there. That was the idea. Because Veda is a science on transmigration, you see. So they believe in gradual elevation from life after life. It's not they are thinking you have only 100 years. So you are a philosopher and you a psychiatrist. Finished. Stamped. It's not like that. This life you may be a musician, next life you may be a cook. Because the life is going from life to life. So that is the main principle, that matter is different from spirit. This is called Vedic jnana, Vedic knowledge. So everything is based on that. So everyone has something to do in the Veda. Everybody. Including animals, birds, everyone. So Tantra Shastra is very merciful. Lord Shiva is the author of that. And within that Tantra Shastra, later many commentaries came, taking the Tantra for Shakti separately, and they did one number. Somebody took Ganesh out of that, did another number. So like this, the books evolved. We are talking of 5,000 years. At least minimum, we are talking of 5,000 years. But Vedas were there from the first day of Brahma. So we are talking of millions of years. Yes.
Sometimes I hear devotees now, somebody speaking about Vaishnava Tantra. Is it a
Vaishnava Tantra means Vaishnava method. That is here. Vaishnava Tantra.
There's a Vaishnava Tantra, it's a right and a left Vaishnava Tantra.
No, it is not coming under that. Tantra, I said, Veda, something below, something higher. Vaishnava Tantra is on the top. That we will come to that. We haven't discussed that yet. So this is a, premature question. You have to keep it till that time. Yes.
Particularly the Upanishads and the Tantra Yogas, approximately how many yogas were discussed in that, and was Bhakti Yoga discussed in that Upanishad?
But in the yoga, darshanas, 6 systems of philosophy.
Number 4, the yoga one.
Number 4 yoga, Ashtanga yoga is discussed. 8-limbed yoga, only one. That's why it is incomplete. Yoga means to link. But that was only to link the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness. That was the whole purpose of that yoga. It doesn't go beyond that. It doesn't say what happens after. It doesn't say, alright, I got a yogi, I did all the Ashtanga and I saw Paramatma, and this consciousness merged with that. Then what? Then what happened to me? It doesn't say. It's atheistic anyway. Their personal philosophy, there is some personal philosophy in it, but that personal philosophy is an impersonal personal philosophy. It's bewildering to you. That makes me a scholar. Because sometimes we consider somebody as a person, just like suppose you have a daughter, right? She comes 12 o'clock midnight. She never told you where she went, but she gives you a Mother's Day card. I love you, Mummy. So this is impersonal personal. Isn't it? You understand that? That goes on here, right? Like that. So they write a card to God. I love you, God. But they don't tell him when they're coming, where they're going. There's no connection. So bad daughter. That's yoga. He says clearly in Yoga Sutra, Ishvara na siddhe. God cannot be established. He says. This is one rice in the whole pot. In the whole pot of rice, you take one rice and you check, right? You don't take all the rice and check. So that one sutra is enough. Ishvara na siddhe. God cannot be established. What does that mean? That means He doesn't exist. But they accept God as free from misery, free from difficulty, free from conditioning, but meditating on whom you can become free from all this. So you are only using Him to become free from all this. It's like the X in algebra. You bring the X in and take the X out and throw it. You have the answer, so who cares for X? So God is Mr. X in Yoga Sutra. Doesn't work, isn't it? Anyway, full moon day is coming. Full moon day means insane people become more insane. Any more second questions? Your second question is over, right? That question is also over. Oh, Jai. Is the milk ready? Yes, so give the milk while we can ask for third and fourth questions. Do you have a question, Krishna Prasad?
No.
At any time you feel that you can't ask this question here, or it immediately come up to your mind, then you're free to come other time when class is not there and then ask me.
I have a question about
Yes.
Shankar. about the Kapila. You say there's another Kapila, it's not the same in the Bhagavata. Because how Prabhupada expressed in his book, like the false Kapila.
Yeah. Impostor Kapila.
You can say you go to that. And what is the difference between Sankhya? It's saying here about Kapila and Shankaracharya also. They are the same. Because sometimes they say...
Wait, let me answer one by one, otherwise I will be lost. Well, Sankhya Yoga here, in one of the 6 darshanas, they established that material nature is the cause of everything. So they consider that if the living being understands how material nature works, then he is free from it. He doesn't need God. So it's a godless philosophy, atheistic philosophy. And Shankara is also atheistic in one way because he doesn't accept the person God. And he establishes that the Brahman gets covered by ignorance, and that becomes Jiva. And then when that Jiva is situated in the mode of goodness, free from the other two, then he is avatar, he is God. In other words, everybody is God. That is his philosophy in simple. So that is different. And Shankaracharya is not a Sankhyaite. He doesn't say everything comes from material nature. He says everything comes from Brahman. So he is a Uttaramimamsa philosopher. He is the 6th group of philosophers. Shankara defeats the other 5 in his philosophy. He defeats the logicians and the special logicians. He defeats that everything comes from atom. Not only that, he says it goes more. And he defeats that everything comes from material nature. He defeats that philosophy. So that way, he has done good service in defeating all the 5 atheistic people, and he established another atheism, another kind. Because Shankara's purpose was to defeat the nihilistic, the wild philosophy of the Buddhists. So the Buddhists, they are non-Vedic atheism. So Shankara established Vedic atheism. More of this we will study in the 4th Sampradaya course. We have all that there. Plenty we have to study that. Yes. 4th question.
Can you say something about a little historical thing about the atheistic Kapila Dev? We never hear about when he appeared, how long ago it was.
He is an atheist, so what do we use?
Just to help us differentiate between him and...
Just understand he is impostor. That's enough. More than that will be not necessary. Whatever you meditate on, you will attain. You meditate Devahuti Kapila. That's good. We don't study those sutras, you see. That's why Prabhupada didn't give it to us. We don't study those sutras. Because his sutra we don't study. Why should we know about him? See, Prabhupada's style was always, if you mention anybody's name, he will say, what is his philosophy? Don't worry when he took birth, how many napkins his mother changed, who cares? He's an imposter, forget it. Let us think of good people, yes.
Why does Prabhupada some places, I don't know if this is a proper question this time, but Prabhupada sometimes says that for someone who gets one quote, says that for someone who is a spiritual master, he should know the Saddarshan, the 6 philosophies. Yeah, knowing Saddarshan does not mean what is the wrong side of Saddarshan. Knowing Saddarshan simply means knowing the right side of it. Knowing Saddarshan does not mean one knows all the sutras of Nyaya and Vaisesika. No. That's like saying following the principle of no intoxication means that he must have smoked before. Prabhupada never smoked in his life. Prabhupada once told one student, I don't know what is this illicit sex. I have no experience. He never had any illicit sex, so he doesn't know. But he was always speaking, no illicit sex. Then somebody can get up and say, did you have illicit sex? What a stupid question. He does not have to have. He knows it's bad, so why know it? It's not human. It's not perfect human. It is meant for conditioned human. So these philosophies are all conditional philosophy. We have another study course called Conditional and Constitutional Philosophy. That study course if you take, then we explain all that in details. So you can keep this question to that. We have many study courses.
And if you all bless Vaishnavas, then we can study all of them together. That means your blessing. Without Vaishnava's blessing, nothing can become successful in this world. So you go through this course, and if you feel satisfied, then next course I am going to start is the methodology of studying Gita and Bhagavatam. That's the next course. Let's go through that, and if you're still alive, and then if you want to continue, then we will take full Sampradaya course. And after that, if you still survive, then we will take the subject matter that you asked the question about. So we'll go step by step, otherwise it's difficult. See, the thing is, these courses are in such a way that to understand the next one, you have to understand this one. Veda is always like that. It's all krama. Veda, another name of Veda is anukramani, means gradual. It takes subject from one to another, like that. And it is like this, coming down like this. It's not going up like that. And it cannot be studied horizontally. Like the horizontal studies we do in the modern days. While studying this, we study that. We're studying this, we study that. It's not studied like that. This thing like comparative study of religions and all, it's just a big bunch of hodgepodge. You can't study like that. There's no comparative study of religions. How can you compare religions if you don't know what is religion and what are religions? What do they have? So you study the religion, and you study the religion, then you can compare. But you get into the university comparative study. How can you comparative study? What do you know what it is? When Ramanuja says Vishnu, and anybody else says Vishnu, it's not the same. Just like when you say for yourself, like a Hare Krishna devotee says liberation, and everybody else says liberation, it's not the same. So how can you compare? You have to first know the definitions of each of this. So Dr. Radhakrishnan wrote this book, Comparative Study of Religions, and every university is studying it. But the point is, first study religion, then study another religion, then compare. Otherwise you cannot compare. You compare, you're like a blind man seeing the elephant. 4 blind men saw the elephant. It's like just like that. Anything you take, you first study that. Then you study something else, then compare. In fact, knowing 6 systems of philosophy means knowing Srimad Bhagavatam. That is what it means. That we will explain as we go. We will come to that. Knowing 6 systems of philosophy simply means knowing Srimad Bhagavad Purana. That's what it means. It is not that you sit down and say, Nyaya says this, Vaisesika says that. If you read Madhya Lila, chapter 25, the disciple of Prakashananda Saraswati, he said, 6 people spoke 6 different ways. But he says, the confirmation and conclusion is in the words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Matam Idam. We simply take that. When you take Mahaprabhu's Mata, then you understood all the 6 systems of philosophy. It's not necessary to go into details of them, or what to speak about who wrote them, and whether it is BC, AC. This is meant for people who want PhD. Dr. Frog, PhD. Doesn't help so much. Of course, you may say sometime when you meet Dr. Frog, how do you explain? Just give him a Bhagavatam. Tell him everything is explained here. Take this Srimad Bhagavatam. One book answers everything. Very easy. Why deal with a PhD? Or send Swarup Damodar Maharaj or Sadapuja. They have a PhD, so we can have a fight. PhD. But we are just ABCD. We are not PhD. So, after milk we will have some Harinam. It's 8 o'clock, so we can finish by 8:30.